This is Mike with Wichita Falls Reptile Rescue, and a little background here. This little fella's name is Moxie. He is an adult male desert spiny lizard, scientific name Celaporus magister. He is one of more than 70 like his kind that I acquired through the SPCA as a result of the U.S. Global Exotic Seizure case that took place in late 2009. So he is a rescue. U.S. Global Exotics was an exotic animal import-export company, and they had been under investigation for neglect of their animals, and some undercover video surfaced documenting that, and so they were, as a result, raided, and nearly 30,000 animals were confiscated. The owners of the company fled to New Zealand to avoid prosecution, and they are now wanted by U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, but they left their lawyer behind to battle the case for them, but ultimately they lost in court after numerous appeals, and the SPCA was finally awarded custody of the animals in February or March, I believe, of 2010. And so at that time, the SPCA asked organizations like mine to help find homes for these animals and to rehabilitate those that were in poor shape, and many of them were. Thousands of these animals died, and because many of them, like Moxie, were wild caught, and that's what companies like U.S. Global Exotics do. They pay low wage workers, people in Africa, South America, Asia, maybe a few cents, a nickel, a couple of dollars a piece to go out and by the bucket load catch various reptiles to then sell on the pet market. And companies like Global Exotics don't always tell the truth about the origins of these animals, and this occurs in the United States as well, because that's where Moxie is originally from. He's a desert Southwest lizard. But once the SPCA had custody of these animals, they asked organizations like mine and zoos and whatnot to help out with this. And so myself and 8 volunteers, we rescued more than 2,100 of those animals: lizards, turtles, snakes, and even some hamsters. And so Moxie was just one of more than 2,100. And we got approximately 78 spiny lizards, as I recall, mostly desert spiny lizards. Some were twin-spotted spiny lizards. And overall, they weren't in too bad a shape, considering some of the other species we got that were in far worse shape. But they were here for about 2 to 3 months, and almost all of them required treatment for mites. They got fenbendazole, also known as Panicure, for internal worm infestations, and most of them required subcutaneous fluid injections, like lactated ringers, because they were very dehydrated. Some required tube feeding, and but after a few months, most of those were healthy enough to go on to Arizona for sanctuary, where they're native. And so Moxie was one of just a few, maybe 8 to 10, who were not healthy at that time to make the trip. So he had to stay here for further rehab, and he'll be here a year, about in March. And his rehab has gone well. He's put on some weight gain. He's free of all the mites and internal parasites. Most of the other spiny lizards that had to stay behind, unfortunately, died since then. And Moxie is one of just 2 survivors now here. He has a girl named Roxy, who is a twin-spotted spiny lizard, and they cohabitate in a terrarium together, and they pull through. But both of them still, I would like to see a little more weight on them, and they're not quite ready to go anywhere just yet, and it's winter right now, so they really can't anyway. But anyway, that's some background on Moxie. And so what I'm going to be doing here today is demonstrating an intramuscular injection of 23% calcium gluconate. This is going to be to treat a possible hypocalcemic condition. You may be able to see on the tape here the twitching of the rear limbs and the toes there. That is, it could be several things, but that is a possible indicator of hypocalcemia, which is low blood calcium. This is also known as hypocalcemic tetany, and if it gets really bad, it can lead to paresis, which would be partial paralysis, in other words, and that typically appears first in these lizards in the hindquarters. So one of the ways that we get out in front of this is to administer some calcium supplements, and a lot of times that's done initially by injection, and so that's what we're going to be demonstrating here today, and I'll proceed with that in the next video.